Hello, students. Let us begin our discussion on spectroscopy of organic compounds. Under this unit, first let us discuss about the fundamentals and applications of UV visible spectroscopy in organic chemistry. First, let us see the importance of UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy is useful in the identification of certain specific groups in the organic molecule. You can confirm the presence of a carbon-carbon double bond, a carbonyl group, an aromatic ring, an azo group, that is nitrogen double bond, an azo group in the case of dyes. So all these groups can be confirmed if they are present in the organic molecule using UV visible spectroscopy. See, the second point in the importance is that you are able to differentiate between conjugated and non-conjugated olefin. If a carbon-carbon double bond is present, it is a olefin. If the carbon-carbon double bonds are present on alternate carbons, for example, 1-butene and 1,3-butadiene, then that is a conjugated system. 1,3-butadiene is a conjugated system. You are able to differentiate between a conjugated system and a non-conjugated olefin system using UV visible spectroscopy. Apart from that, we are able to confirm the presence of aromatic rings in an organic molecule. The aromatic compounds are different types: benzene, naphthalene. Benzene is having only one nucleus, benzene ring. In naphthalene, we have two benzene rings, but they are fused. So you are able to distinguish between simple aromatics and polyaromatics, where you have the fused ring structures, fused benzene system. Naphthalene is there, anthracene. If you go beyond that, you have phenanthracene and acinaptacene. Acinaptacene is a polycyclic system where we have the angular series. Anthracene, phenanthracene, they are organic molecules, aromatic compounds with linear series system. So you are able to confirm the extent of aromatic rings, whether it is a polyaromatic compound, and also you are able to differentiate between them using UV visible spectroscopy. Suppose if the olefin system is attached to the aromatic ring, you are able to confirm the presence of such conjugation also, and you are able to determine the extent of such conjugation in the organic molecules. Apart from that, the UV visible spectroscopy has many industrial applications also because of these reasons. Cost-wise, it is a cheaper instrument when compared to our nuclear magnetic resonance spectrometers and mass spectrometers. UV visible spectrometer is a cheap instrument cost-wise. It can be installed in a small-scale industry where purity of one or two products or one or two reactants, starting materials, have to be checked. So it is easy to maintain in small-scale industries also. The cost is also very cheap. Because of these reasons, UV visible spectroscopy is given some importance in organic spectroscopy. First, let us see the fundamentals of UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy is also called as electronic spectroscopy. The reason is the spectroscopy is connected with the electrons. In what way electrons are playing a role? Electrons can be promoted from one orbital to another orbital. What are the type of orbitals that are involved in the promotion of electrons or transfer of electrons? Electrons can be promoted from the ground level orbitals to the excited level, orbitals in the excited state. So, if you look at an organic molecule, then you have two types of orbitals, that is bonding molecular orbitals and anti-bonding molecular orbitals. If electrons are filled in the bonding molecular orbitals only, you have a molecule. For example, in hydrogen, we have 1s1 electron. If the hydrogen molecule is formed, then we have a bonding 1s orbital and anti-bonding 1s orbital indicated as 1s star. Antibonding orbital is indicated by the symbol star, 1s star. Each atom is giving one electron, so the two electrons will be occupying the 1s orbital only. There won't be any electron in the anti-bonding orbital. Now, it is a simple molecule, hydrogen. Whereas if you go to bigger molecules, you may have more than 2 or 3 bonding orbitals. Similarly, you may have more than 2 or 3 anti-bonding orbitals also. So, electrons can be promoted from the highest occupied molecular orbital. The highest occupied molecular orbital is abbreviated as HOMO. HOMO means highest occupied molecular orbital, HOMO. It can be promoted to the lowest unoccupied molecular orbitals, LUMO, abbreviated as LUMO. So, electrons are promoted from the highest occupied molecular orbital, HOMO, to LUMO, lowest unoccupied molecular orbitals. So, the promotion of electrons from the HOMO to the LUMO, or transfer of electrons from HOMO to LUMO requires energy. So, you have to irradiate the organic molecule with electromagnetic radiation. Resonance occurs. This will happen at a particular frequency only. Depending on the energy demand by the molecule, the electromagnetic radiation will be absorbed. So, based on the absorption, we are having a spectrum. So, the requirements for electromagnetic radiation for UV visible spectroscopy is you should have an electromagnetic radiation of high energy. The electromagnetic radiation that is used in the recording of UV visible spectrum is further divided into various types. If there is absorption in the wavelength, say 800 to 400 nanometers region, it is called as the visible region, where we have the white light and its 7 colors. They are appearing in the region, say 800 to 400 nanometers, visible region. Some of the organic compounds are absorbing, they have groups which are absorbing in the visible region. Coming to the region from 400 to 200 nanometers, it is called as ultraviolet region. Some of the compounds are having groups which are absorbing in this region also. And we have the near ultraviolet region. The range is from 190 to 100 nanometers. 100 nanometers. See, in this range only we have our simple molecules like hydrogen, oxygen, which show electronic transition and absorbance. Wavelength is lower means energy is higher, frequency is higher. So, small molecules like hydrogen, oxygen, they show an absorption in this region. Suppose if you want to study the UV visible spectrum of a organic molecule in this region, then the atmospheric air present along with the organic molecule in the instrument will also absorb. So, if you want to study the electronic transition of any organic molecule or any group in the organic molecule in this region, say 100 to 190 to 100 nanometers, then the atmospheric air must be rigorously removed. So the instrument is attached with a provision for creating vacuum in the instrument. The spectrum is recorded under vacuum condition. So such a technique is called as vacuum ultraviolet and visible spectroscopy. So if you irradiate the electromagnetic radiation in this range, say from 800 to 200 nanometers, you get the UV visible spectrum. The UV visible spectrum is nothing but a record of the wavelength of absorption, that is in terms of its maximum, versus the intensity of absorption. You will have a plot of X and Y. On one side, in the x-axis, you will have the wavelength of absorption and its maximum. The maximum will be shown in the form of a wave, curve, and on another axis, the intensity of absorption is plotted. What is meant by the intensity of absorption? Intensity means here to what extent the absorption has taken place, that is expressed. So, the intensity of absorption is expressed here by the molar absorptivity of extinction coefficient, molar extinction coefficient. This term is derived from our Beer-Lambert's law. It is connected with our irradiation of electromagnetic waves. Here, the absorbance A is given by the expression log to the base 10, I0 by I. I0 is the intensity of the initial absorption, and I is the I0 is the intensity of in the initial state, that is before absorption, and I is the intensity of radiation after absorption. It is related with the terms, namely epsilon LC. See, C is the concentration and L is the Planck length in Beer-Lambert's law. And epsilon is called as the molar extinction coefficient or molar absorption coefficient. They are related with the term A. Now, let us look into the different types of electronic transitions. In the organic molecule is a covalent system where you can see a sigma bond. A sigma bond is formed by the direct overlap of the atomic orbitals. Consider the case of bonding in hydrogen. Hydrogen has 1s atomic orbital. The two atoms give 2 orbitals. The 2 atomic orbitals are overlapping directly. So you have a sigma bond between 2 hydrogen atoms in a molecule of hydrogen. Bonding molecular orbital. Come to the case of a bonding between carbon and hydrogen in an organic molecule. For example, methane. Carbon has sp3 hybridized orbital. The sp3 hybridized orbital overlaps directly with the hydrogen 1s atomic orbital. It results in the formation of a sigma bond, covalent bond. If one sp3 hybridized orbital of a carbon overlaps directly, that is head to head with another sp3 hybridized orbital of another carbon, then you have a carbon-carbon sigma bond. If the sp3 hybridized orbitals, instead of overlapping through their heads, if it overlaps in a sideways manner, for example, in a molecule of ethylene, acetylene, the atomic orbitals overlap in a sideways manner and it results in the formation of a pi bond. Ethylene has one pi bond and acetylene has two carbon-carbon pi bonds. So, an organic molecule contains sigma bonding orbital, pi bonding orbital. And we have molecules like alcohols, ether, amino compounds, where we have a heteroatom. The oxygen has two lone pairs of electrons. The lone pairs of electrons are there because they are not participating in the electrons. They are not participating in the bonding. So, such electrons are called as non-bonding electrons. They are present in the non-bonding orbitals. They are indicated by the symbol N. So, in an organic molecule, we have the sigma bonding orbital, pi bonding orbital, and non-bonding orbital. Corresponding to these, you have the anti-bonding orbitals also. You have the sigma anti-bonding orbitals and pi anti-bonding orbitals indicated with the symbol sigma star and pi star. Non-bonding orbitals, they are not participating in the bonding as well as in the anti-bonding. So, they are in the middle. We have n orbitals only. We don't have a bonding or anti-bonding orbital with the symbol n. So, if you arrange them in terms of their energy, then the sigma bonding orbital is having the lowest energy. Next comes the pi bonding orbital, and next comes the n non-bonding orbital. Above that, you have the pi star anti-bonding orbitals and sigma star anti-bonding orbitals. So, if this is the arrangement of the various bonding and bonding, non-bonding and anti-bonding orbitals in terms of their energy, you have the sigma, pi, n and pi star, sigma star orbitals. Electrons can be promoted from these orbitals. That is, from the sigma to sigma star orbital, pi to pi star orbital, pi to sigma star orbital, and n to pi star orbital. See, they are indicated with the help of arrow. If the arrow is lengthy, then the energy gap is bigger and we require more amount of energy for the promotion of electrons. So, the sigma star transition requires highest amount of energy. Next comes the n sigma star transition, and we have the pi star transition also. And the lowest energy is required for the promotion of an electron from the n orbital to the lowest antibonding orbital, that is the pi star antibonding orbital. So, these are the transitions. And because of these electronic transitions, we have promotion of electrons. For that, we require electromagnetic radiation. Depending on the energy requirement, the electromagnetic radiation is absorbed by the organic molecule and we have a spectrum. Now, let us see how the UV visible spectrum is actually appearing. If you look at the energy level diagram, then energy is required in quanta only. A specified quantity of energy is required. we have the formula E is equal to h nu. Nu 1 means it is the energy of a particular quanta. Nu 2, another quanta. Nu 3, another quanta. That is called as quantization of energy level. So for the promotion of electrons from the sigma pi n orbitals to the antibonding orbitals, you require energy in quantas only. So, people expected that the UV visible spectrum will appear in the form of discrete lines only. That is, lines with break. But the UV visible spectrum appears in the form of a continuous line wave. What is the reason for this one? Why the UV visible spectrum is appearing in the form of a continuous line or wave? See, we have the vibrations of the molecule. The chemical bonds and the atoms attached to through the chemical bonds, they are going vibrations. And simple molecules also undergo rotation. So in addition to the electronic excitation or electronic transition, we have the vibrations and rotations, which also require energy, and they will also absorb the electromagnetic radiation. So, the absorption of electromagnetic radiation due to the vibrations and rotations cannot be avoided. They also take place simultaneously, and their absorption is also recorded. As a result, the vibration and rotational levels and their absorption will be superimposed over the electronic transitions. So, the UV visible spectrum appears in the form of a continuous line. So, to sum up, let us recall once again. We have seen the importance of UV visible spectroscopy today. What is the strength of UV visible spectroscopy? The UV visible spectroscopy is able to distinguish between conjugated and non-conjugated system. It is able to confirm the extent of conjugation. Apart from that, we are able to distinguish between polyaromatics. We are able to confirm the different groups, namely a olefin, a carbonyl group, a aromatic ring, a azo group in the organic molecule, and the extent of conjugation also. And we have seen the different methods by which UV visible spectroscopy spectrum is recorded. We have seen what is meant by vacuum ultraviolet, and we have seen the different types of electronic transition. Why UV visible spectroscopy is called as the called by the word term, namely electronic spectroscopy. So we saw what is a bonding orbital, what is a anti-bonding orbital in a molecule, organic molecule, what are sigma, n and pi orbitals, how electrons are promoted from the sigma to sigma star orbital, pi to pi star orbital, n to pi star orbital. What are the energy requirements and their order? See, I want to mention a point here. You can raise a question. Electrons are promoted from the sigma to sigma star orbital only, and there is no promotion of electrons from the sigma to pi star orbital. Similarly, electrons are not promoted from the pi to sigma star orbital. Whereas n orbital electrons are promoted from the n orbital to the pi star as well as the sigma star orbital. See, you must remember this point. Electron promotion is based on the orbital symmetry. In the lower level, you have the HOMO, highest occupied molecular orbital. And in the higher level, you have the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. I told you, electron is promoted from the HOMO to LUMO because the energy requirement is less. Such transitions occur easily. Apart from that, you must consider the orbital symmetry also in doing the promotion of electron or electronic in carrying out the electronic transition. See, the sigma orbital is in the ground state and sigma star is the excited state. The orbital symmetry between the ground state and the excited state orbital must match with each other. There should be orbital symmetry. Then only the electron will be promoted from the lowest to the highest orbital. Such electronic transitions are allowed in terms of symmetry. So they are called as symmetry allowed transitions. We use a term in inorganic chemistry that is Laporte allowed transitions. Symmetry or Laporte allowed transitions. The transitions between orbitals which are not having the symmetry are also taking place, but to a lesser extent. The probability is lesser. So, such transitions will be very weak. If the orbital symmetry is present for the HOMO and LUMO orbitals, then such transitions are very intense and it can be studied in UV visible spectroscopy. The intensity of absorption or molar extinction coefficient will be very high. In UV visible spectroscopy, if the molar extinction coefficient is of the order, say, 10 to the power 4, that is of the order 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, like that, then such transitions are very intense. They are symmetry allowed transitions. And such transitions are useful in giving you about the presence of some groups in the organic molecule. And you are able to get some information about the structure of the organic molecule. So, with this, I conclude this session, and in the next class, we shall continue the fundamentals of UV visible spectroscopy once again.